The Umpire Inspire podcast is all about the stories, all about the journeys, and all about the heart of being an umpire. I'm your host, Jason Becker. Hi everybody, Jason here. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. All right, let's get right into it. I'm excited to bring you something a little different today. In this episode of the show, I'd like to introduce you to two umpire friends of mine, Gerritt Nelson and Gary Smith. Gerritt and Gary are fellow Little League umpires with me here in Washington State District 1. I've had the pleasure of working with both of them many times, and I always enjoy those opportunities. We always have fun on a field together. Gerritt is 16 years old, and Gary is 76 years old. I thought it would be fun to bring them both on the show with the same set of questions and hear the differences or the similarities between how Gerritt, a teenage umpire, approaches his craft as compared to Gary, a veteran umpire who's been doing it since well before Gerritt was born. In some of the comments you hear, these guys will be in lockstep with one another in regards to philosophy and motivation, and in others their perspective will differ, and of course that's largely a function of youth versus experience. You'll hear also that 16-year-old Gerritt is pretty measured with his comments, whereas Gary has had decades to perfect his umpire storytelling chops, which is a very important skill for any umpire. So this is a different kind of episode. This is an experiment, and I do not know how it's going to work. But what I hope you come away with after meeting Gerritt and Gary is an appreciation for the generational aspect of umpiring, and maybe a measure of gratitude for the opportunity that umpiring offers us to connect with one another and to learn from one another, no matter what chapter we're currently in our umpiring stories. All right, let's do this. To start off, I always like to hear about an umpire's beginnings, how and why they geared up for that very first game, and where that first step then led them. For Gerritt, it wasn't all that long ago, but for Gary, it's measured in decades.
So a lot of it ended up being a mixture between umpires in our league and my dad. So it started off with, I was playing on teams and the coaches were umpires that we had for higher level games. And it was just great hanging out with these guys and talking to them about the rules and learning things. And then one day, my dad decided to be the manager of my little brother's team. And that just threw me into the fire of him making me the umpire. Everyone needs that team umpire, and I ended up being that kid.
Nice.
And so I got into that, started going to clinics. Nick Paredes, Tim Neal, all those guys, part of Everett Little League, and the umpires there, Gary Smith, everyone like that. They all brought me into it, made me part of the family. Tim himself took me to a couple clinics, Nick also. And then, even this weekend, me and you were down in Seattle doing the Western Regional Clinic, and that was great hanging out with all those guys.
Yep.
But, that's where it started. It started with my dad and all these guys just, asking me to come out and do it. And just from there, it just kept building.
Sure. Well, my dad was a Little League coach. He played town team ball for Mount Vernon and the Lundeen's team back in the 40s. And so I was always made aware of baseball, and he started coaching, managing, and helping start the Lake Stevens Little League in 1956. And so I played, and then I played in high school. And while I was in high school, they needed some umpires because the Little League and Lake Stevens didn't have any regular umpires. So they would convinced a few of us high school students to come down and umpire, and it was kind of a for-profit deal. I guess I was a professional. I get 50 cents for umpiring first base and 75 cents for umpiring the plate. So
big money.
So I took the plate, and about once a month we'd get a check from the league for like $6.25. So that went into the gas tank of my '49 Ford. So.
How'd your little brother feel about having you on the field calling balls and strikes for him?
He was convinced that I was against him every single time.
No, you don't say.
No, every single time.
I'm shocked.
That wasn't a strike. What are you talking about, Blue? Yeah, it's just, little kid things.
Yeah.
It's just fun, though.
You had good fun with it, though.
Oh, yeah.
I bet your dad was very proud of you.
Yeah, he loved the fact that I'm out here doing it now, even to this day, keeping with it. I've played baseball since I was 4, so that's 12 years now. And playing for Cascade High School, it's a great time doing both of these things. I don't think I could give up one or the other. At the beginning, I could have gone towards baseball, but now with all these years into it and learning so much and being with all these people that mean so much to these games, it's just a great feeling and a great time being an umpire.
That was the start. I did that for a couple of years, and then ended up going to college and going in the Army and going back to college and finishing up. And I played softball for 20 years. And so I didn't start umpiring after the first couple of years until I was like 39 years old, back in 1981. I've done it for about 38 more years, so I've got 40 years in now. But I just love baseball, and once I started Little League, I got hooked on it, and we never had any official training or anything. You'd watch the games on Saturday and maybe pick up something, but then when I started, there was very little training, so you just got thrown out there, and you think you knew a rule, but I don't even think most of us even read the rule book.
I'll have to edit that out, Gary.
When I was doing the games when I was coaching, they used to call me Low Ball Smith, because if the worm didn't duck when the ball came in, it was probably a strike, but I always appreciated the low strike zone. We had a Little League dance every year in Lake Stevens, and I was presented with the trophy. It was there's an old wooden baseball bat with a 3-iron shoved in the bottom of it, and the guy gave it to me and said, this is the bat we have to use so we can hit your low strike.
I asked the guys to share a little bit about the mentors and teachers that brought them up and helped them improve, and what it is about those more experienced umpires that is so special to them.
I've had a few umpires that actually were some of my peers, and Steve Bailey, he was always good, and I'd always watch them and pick up little things from them, but usually watch somebody that I knew had more experience and better experience. Had Rich Lemieux. He was a Little League coach when I was in Lake Stevens, and he ended up being the head of the Snohomish County Umpires Association for high school and select teams, and he was my go-to guy. If I wasn't sure of something, I'd ask him. And then, of course, I've done some games with you, and I always come to ask you certain things because I know you've had some more formal training, and I've just watched you in the past, and you know what a good job you've done, and you're always in the right spot at the right time, and I think that's my problem now, and I'm in the wrong spot at the right time, or the right time in the wrong spot. But
they're all just such, kind-hearted people. They take time out of their own lives and come out and help others. As an umpire, as a mentor, as a teacher, any of those things, they come out and they spend their day in life helping other people and teaching them. They're really just selfless in itself, and they really love the game.
Bob Robinson, the umpire coordinator for district for the last, not a few years ago, he was always inspiring. And to see a gentleman like that up there talking and all the experience he has, but just a real sweetheart. But he'd get you excited about umpiring and wanting to get out there, and I think that that made a big difference with a lot of us umpires. I always wish I could have seen him umpire because his health wasn't the greatest, so he was not able to get out there and show us what he could do, but he seemed to know all the ins and outs.
I've always thought the same thing about Bob, how fun it would have been to get out on a field and work a game with him. That would have been a pleasure.
I think so. And talking to someone like that, it makes a big difference if you ask them a question and they're telling you in an easy way what you could do better and not just what you did wrong. And it's all in the presentation. And so that's what makes a good instructor.
For a teenage umpire, a 70-something umpire, and all of us in between, we all learn to identify what keeps us going over the course of a season, and even over the course of a game. I asked Gerritt and Gary what they enjoy about being an umpire, and what motivates them to be out there.
A lot of the times, it's just thinking about every pitch. It's not just this is a game, it's this pitch in this moment, this play in this moment.
Yeah.
It's everything comes together to make that game. It's not, I'm here to umpire this game. It's here, I'm umpire to this pitch, that safe call, this out, anything like that. And I know a lot of guys, they have trouble umping because of, physical issues. You gotta stay fit, you gotta keep yourself in it so that you can keep doing this. I go to the gym, 3 times a week, which isn't enough, but, I keep myself fit. And, mentally, you gotta, stay up on your rules. You don't have to be that guy that can cite the rule in the, Little League rule book.
Sure.
But you can be that guy that says, yes, coach, I know what I'm talking about. It said this. I don't need to know where it said that, but it said that.
Right.
And, you have to be able to keep on top of everything.
I really enjoy getting the game started. I really enjoy getting the game over. I just like to see the kids out there having fun, and you see some great plays and some kids really learning how to play baseball and getting enthused about it. And that was one thing when I was coaching. I just wanted to make sure that kids enjoyed the game and got a lot out of it. And it's just fun being out there, especially when the sun's on your back and the field's in good shape. Love watching the game.
Gerritt's learning curve as a newer umpire is very steep, and Gary, well, he's in a very different place. I asked the guys what goals they have for their upcoming season, and it was striking to me, and quite moving in a way, to recognize the contrast between where these two gentlemen are in their umpiring stories.
I've always had my hands behind my knees, or both hands behind my knees in a plate stance, but I'm trying to move more into the arm lock and wrap that they teach, more professional style of doing it. And, just always, making sure my head's locked and I'm tracking the ball with my eyes. And I want to work on getting myself further out into the field to make calls. I run a lot of one-man mechanics, so I want to work on, being more athletic into the field, breaking in and getting those angles, getting the angles and then getting a lot closer to the play. I've always found myself, I'll lay back and try to get the angle instead of getting the angle and distance. And I think I want to push myself harder this year and really make those angles and that distance count.
Well, I think I've reached my limit. I'm 76 now. I can't move very fast, and I noticed in the last couple years I can't get to where I should get. And even though maybe I think I could be efficient, I don't think I can get there. And in order to really be on top of the game and want to do the best job I can. I don't think I'm going to be able to. I'll umpire in an emergency. I'm usually with the older kids. There's hardly any umpires. I might have to do a game, but and if I'm doing the plate, that might be okay. I can take a couple steps out in front of the plate, but I won't be able to run down the lines very far. And if I'm doing the field, I may have to start in the B position instead of the A position, because you're going to end up in the B position pretty much anyway. But I don't think I could run inside and end up going towards second base. And to be fair to the kids, I think they deserve better than that. I don't want to think I'm going to not be able to make a proper call. 200 games a year the last few years, but I think it's taken its toll.
Finally, I simply was curious to know what brings these guys out to the field every day, what keeps them coming back for more, and what it is they love about being an umpire.
Honestly, it's the people. It's the people that I get to meet, the people I get to work with, the people that play the game. They're all such great people, and it's amazing to get to see them. Like I mentioned, all those guys that have helped me out, they're such amazing people. They're kind-hearted, they're selfless. They'll be there if you call them. They'll take you to things. They'll be anything you need them to be. And then these players, they love the game. They really want to be there. It's not, mommy and dad made me come. It's, I love this, and I'm going to keep doing this for the rest of my life. And, along with that, sometimes the coaches can be that person too. You can see coaches really strive to make these players better and, strive to learn. They want to be the best coach they can be. And a lot of these guys are volunteers, They spend their hours of their day when they could be doing things with their families even.
I know. I just look forward to it every year. And the years go by, and the years go by, and years go by, and there's meeting the other umpires and the coaches and being able to help the kids out. Just enjoy looking forward to it. I used to spend a lot of time working on the fields. I used to take care of 4 fields when I was coaching in Lake Stevens. During the summer, I'd mow fields, and I had Thursdays off, and that was always my day to mow the lawns and use the weed eater and have a lot of fun, and just appreciated seeing a nice groomed field and
Oh, me too.
Smell like grass, that nice mown grass.
Yeah.
But it's just fun. The game of baseball is so much fun, and the kids can learn so much just about life on that, how to be a good loser, a good winner. It's important, just as important to be a good winner as a good loser. And it's just fun seeing the kids go out there and really try hard. And some of these young kids are going to be great ball players, and there's other ones out there that probably need a little more training, but that's what the game's all about. They got to start somewhere. Like I say, I just love baseball.
There are 1,000 young umpires out there like Gerritt, just discovering a passion for umpiring. And there are 1,000 more like Gary, looking back on a lifetime of calling pitches, of working games, of completing seasons. Both the first chapters and the closing chapters of an umpire's journey are worth acknowledging and very much worth celebrating. Like Gerritt rightly said early on in this episode, when you step into plate shoes, you are made part of the family. I want to thank both Gerritt and Gary, my friends, for joining me on the show, and I know I will want to partner up on a field with them again as soon as we are able. Thank you for listening and for sharing the show with your umpire friends that you think might enjoy listening as well. And I will see you next week on the Umpire Inspire podcast.